Right. But see,
Right.
the problem is, though, is that this idea that you have of the invisible unicorn, you are saying is produced by the functioning of the neurons.
Sure.
Because if you shut down the neurons, you're not conscious of the idea. I understand that. But being produced by the neurons and being a neurotransmitter or electrochemical activity or whatever is a different thing. One is a causal relation. The other is an identity relation. And the problem is, I don't think we have any evidence to support the idea that there's an identity relation. Causal? Sure. I also know it works the other way. The fact is that we can have ideas that have an impact on material reality. And you know that as well as I do.
Sure.
So the fact is, no one is disputing. I mean, since the time of Descartes, people have known, the birth of modern philosophy, people have known that there's a causal issue here. We understand that. It's the identity part that makes me get nervous and suggests that there is still a lot more to learn about exactly what is going on, because I can't even conceive how you get your idea of a unicorn out of a neurotransmitter.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to have a discussion about the identity theory of mind,
I
obviously,
agree.
tonight.
Right.
I think that one can conceive, and as you know, there are other ways of looking at the problem of consciousness, even within philosophy, before we even get to neurobiology. But I suggest that we set that aside for a second. I would certainly readily agree that we don't have not only a complete theory of consciousness, but we have a very elementary theory of consciousness at this point, at best. But going back to something I think that Sunsara said earlier, correct me if I actually misunderstood you, but the fact of the matter here is when we're making the comparison between science and religion, it doesn't matter how much science doesn't know. The question is, does religion know anything more? And the answer is a resounding no. If the problem is I don't know how life originated, which I don't. There are 2 or 3, 4, 5 different theories out there, and I have my favorite pet theory about it, but nobody really knows. But I've never heard any sensible explanation from anybody that gets that explanation from a religious tradition.
As I said in my opening remarks, though, the fact is religion does know something. It also knows compassion. Now, I'm not saying that hang on.
But that's irrelevant.
No, I don't think it is. It isn't irrelevant. It isn't irrelevant because the fact is that there are certain, if it were true that religion knew nothing that science does, nothing more than science does, you still have to explain why science isn't, given the development of the productive forces, why science isn't, in effect, little by little, taking over the role of religion. And we know, I think, why. It is because that's not the business that scientists are active in.
Of course not.
Let's remember also that science doesn't only give you knowledge and progress, it also gives you weapons of mass destruction. It gives you a wide variety of other things that are problematic. And I think that part of the problem here is we're taking a very ahistorical view of what science is. To proclaim that science is rational and religion is irrational is to oversimplify things in a way that frankly astounds me.
Well, all right, these are fighting words, my friend. So first of all, I think you switched right in the middle of your sentence. You switched their target in a spectacular fashion. The original idea here was to say, what I was asking was, has religion ever provided us with any idea of where answers to scientific questions come from? Questions like the origin of life, the origin of consciousness, and so on and so forth. Those are scientific questions because they pertain to the empirical world. And yes, I maintain that religion has never, ever, and never will give us anything at all.
You think
that even counts as an answer.
Do you think the Pythagoreans were religious?
Hold on. Let me finish.
And they contributed to mathematical knowledge?
Well, Newton was religious. He was also into alchemy. So what? Everybody, any individual. That's why I made the distinction earlier between scientists and science. Scientists themselves can be highly irrational. Are you kidding? Yeah, of course. It's science as a process that it's a different matter, and one of the reasons, there are several reasons for that, but one of the reasons is the one that Sunsara pointed out earlier, which is, well, there is a real world out there that you have to deal with, right? I mean, you can have all the imagination that you like about being able to fly out of the 9th floor here of this building, but, you know, since there is such a thing called gravity, you try and you're going to crash on the ground. And I can tell you the speed at which you're going to ride the ground, given acceleration and mass and so on. So the question is, so if the question is, has religion ever given us anything in terms of explanations about how the world works, that is the province of science? No, never. And it cannot do that because it's just not the right way to go about it. Now, on the other hand, if the question is, does science cover all of the realm of human experience and activities, then the answer is, of course not. I'm not suggesting we turn this society into a scientific society. Not at all. But to put in terms of science, in that area, to put in terms of science versus religion, it's a false dichotomy because there are other things going on there. There is philosophy, as you know. There is a natural sense of human compassion, for instance. I mean, when you talk about empathy, I think empathy is a fundamental human attribute that has nothing to do at all with religion. It doesn't come from religion.
I said it was going to get exciting, so.